everyone. Good morning. Welcome to WASA Distance Education Center. This is our first week of classes for Term 1A. So, Term 1A is 9 weeks. So, you have from September 2nd, that's today, until October 31st. Just a reminder to the students, you can now register, or some of you have already registered for the 2025-2026 school year. Everyone who registers for this school year will be entered into our raffle draw. So make sure that you're applying on or before September 30th so that you can qualify for the draw. If you're wondering how to register, several ways you can do it. You can contact your local DEC. If you want, you can also do it right from your phone. You can scan the QR code. We have been circulating that QR code on our Facebook, so you can just check it out. You just hover your phone over the QR code and it will send you to this link. It will send you to wasaregistration.ca. It's fairly simple. So this is what it looks like. I'll just open it up here. I just click on the link. It will say, have you previously attended a WASA Distance Education Center? If you have, then you click yes, and it will prompt you to put in your last name, first name, and so on, your mailing address, and then how we can contact you, so your phone number, email, if you have Facebook, and then it will ask you a list of schools you have previously attended. So for those people that have already, or applicants that have already attended WASA, okay, we have most of those information already. So if you, maybe over the summer you went somewhere else, you could add that in. Okay, so we already have some information from you previously if you have attended before, but if you took another course over the summer, you should add that in. Don't forget to complete the last two sections. It says I give permission for WASA to use my picture in advertising and promotion of the WASA program events, and I grant WASA permission to obtain my student records from my previous high schools, or again, like I said, if you have attended a course over the summer, you might want to add that as well. Okay, very simple application form, and you can use the QR code to do just that. Another option is just calling us at 807-737-1488. If you have applied with us last year, you can simply give us permission again to register you. So very easy. Why should you choose WASA? Well, you can complete your high school right from your home. We do have flexible learning options, and you can have access to innovative technology. So remember, we offer grades 9 to 12. You can earn your Ontario Secondary School school diploma, and again, you don't have to leave your community. You can stay in your community and learn from home. If you have any questions with courses you should apply, maybe you're not sure which credits you have, you can contact Mary. She's one of our education counselors, or Michelle. Mary is dedicated to PLAR, so she's our PLAR counselor. And we also have Michelle. She's our education counselor. And you can both find them on Facebook, or you can call them here at WASA. Our Term 1A radio Zoom timetable is as follows. You see we have courses to choose from. Kobe just finished the math, MAP 4C. PLAR English runs on Mondays and Wednesdays. So because yesterday was a holiday, So the PLAR English will start tomorrow on Wednesday. History and Geography, Tuesdays and Thursdays. 2 to 3 we have grade 12 English. So if you need a grade 12 English, make sure you register for ENG4C. So that's Monday to Thursday from 2 to 3. LNC AO. So Margaret is teaching that native language course from 3 to 4. Then we have the grade 12 literacy course from 4 to 5. Then we have the MBF. Okay, that's another math course from 5 to 6. Marvin is teaching that. MCT4C, Andrew will be teaching that. And then we have SVN 3E, and Wendy is teaching that from 7 to 8. So again, if you have any questions about the courses or which course you should be applying for in order to fulfill your graduation requirements, don't hesitate to contact our office. Okay, for those of you who are in the PLAR program or thinking about applying for PLAR, PLAR stands for Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition. So if completing the required PLAR subjects, then it will provide you with the equivalent missing credits for grades 9 and 10. So 2 things you have to remember if you are thinking about signing up for PLAR. You must turn 18 on or before August 31st of the school year. Also, you have to have fewer than 26 credits. Okay, so those are the 2 things if you're not sure if you should apply for PLAR. So you have to turn 18 on or before August 31st of this school year. So if you're not 18 yet, but you will be by the time August 31st of the 25-26 school year, then you qualify. And if you have fewer than 26 credits. Okay, so those are the 2 things that you have to remember if you are interested in applying for PLAR. There are PLAR assessments, okay, and culminating. These are PLAR English, PLAR Science, PLAR History, PLAR Geography, and PLAR Math. So again, depending on what you have done before, then you will be assessed based on the credits that you bring to us. If you have no credits, then that means you have to do all PLAR English, Science, History, Geography, and Math to get your grade 9, 10 equivalent credits. So this is how it works. So if you're applying, so these are for new students, or if you're a student already in PLAR and you're not sure how it works, so you have fewer than 16 grade 9, 10 credits, your application goes to Mary. She's our PLAR counselor. She will assess your application. Then she will submit the results to the principal. So she will send it to Daryl for approval. Daryl will sign it off, and then Mary will enter the number of PLAR credits student will receive. Okay, so maybe you're missing 3 credits for the grade 9, 10 credits. So that means she will put in, you will get 3 once you complete the assessments for PLAR. This would also determine what assessments or culminating tasks are needed. So maybe you didn't do grade 9, 10 science, but you've completed the history, the geography, the math, and all the other courses that's needed for your grade 9, 10, which means that you only have to do the PLAR science assessment. So if you still have questions regarding that, make sure you contact us. Okay, there are 2 options, and we did this last year, or 2 choices. first choice is that you can complete the key questions from the lessons. So if you're taking the PLAR History and the PLAR Geography, that's your choice. You can do the key questions from the lessons. By doing these, it will help you review the main ideas, and then you get ready for the culminating. Okay, that's your choice. Or your other choice is that you can choose to take the culminating activity. Now, this is a good option if you want to challenge yourself. The culminating will check how well you understand the material from the lessons. So basically, you're skipping the lessons already and you're going straight for the culminating, which is an open book test. The culminating activity can be emailed to the DEC, or we can email it directly to you. You do not need to be supervised. Okay, so supervision is not required. If you need the culminating activity printed, you can have your DEC printed for you. Or again, as I mentioned, we can email it to you directly. Successful students will receive their equivalent credits, and then you can proceed to senior PLAR and then start working on your senior credits. If the culminating activity is not passed, so if you're unsuccessful, the key questions in the lessons must be completed. Okay, that will prepare you to take the culminating activity. So that means you're retaking it. Okay, you're allowed to try many times, so you're permitted several attempts to pass the culminating activity. Okay, you just have to let us know which option, and you can take option one, start doing the key questions, and then you decide, hey, this looks easy, or I think I can do the test. Even though you have completed the lesson already and the key questions, you still have the option to change your mind. Okay, so if you have chosen to complete the key questions from the lessons, so this is what the PLAR history looks like. That's why I'm showing this to you now. You will see the study guide for PLAR history. There are 3 lessons. So lesson 1 will have key questions 1 to 18. Lesson 2 will have key questions 19 to 33. And lesson 3 will have key questions 34 to 41. So this is what it looks like exactly. So if you have been sent the study guide, this is what it looks like. You will see some new changes on the cover. There's a QR code on the corner. So again, if you're at the learning center, or maybe your friend has the study guide and you see that QR code and you want to apply, hover your phone over that, the camera on your phone, it will send you directly to the link and you can apply. It tells you the year, okay, for the study guide. It gives you the WASA studio number, so you still have the option of calling in to WASA. That's the 1-800-465-7144. If you're calling in from Sioux Lookout and area, it's 737-4017. You can also tune in to 91.9 FM. There's also an option now if you want to listen. Okay, there's a link for you to listen to 91.9 FM. So maybe you're at work, and if your supervisor allows you to work on or listen to your class, or maybe you can have that as your background. Instead of music, you can listen to your class in the background. That is the link for the Radio 91.9 FM. You can also join the class by going to my Zoom link. It shows you my meeting ID and the passcode. It gives you the office number in my extension. It gives you the fax number. It gives you the email. Okay, for me, so remember I'm looking after the PLAR History, Geography, and the PLAR Science. And it also give you my Facebook. Okay, the J. Mercer Wassa is my work Facebook. So anything relating to history, geography, science, or maybe you have a question about whom you may need to contact, you can um, you can contact me there. Okay, and then we talked about this already, that PLAR History has 3 lessons, and it's 2 1-hour radio classes each week for 9 weeks. The one thing you have to remember though with the PLAR History, okay, it will run for about 4.5 weeks, and then we will continue with the PLAR Geography. So Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12, that's Central Time. If you're on Eastern Time, so Fort Hope, Webequie, Thunder Bay, it will be from 12 to 1. So if you're completing the key questions, you will do all lessons 1 to 3. If you're doing the culminating activity only, the passing mark is a minimum of 50%. Okay. Again, myself or the DEC will give you the culminating activity to complete, and so on. So if you have this, take a few minutes of your time to go over the study guide. For those students who may have worked on PLAR History last year, so if you were registered for the 2024-25, if you have previous versions of these lessons, so maybe you started working on the key questions over the summer, I will accept the submitted work. Okay, so don't say, oh, I did the wrong version. No, that's fine if you did the 2024-25. Submit it anyway. Maybe you had one from the year before. Submit that anyway, and I will let you know if I need you to redo something. So this is what the mark sheet looks like for students who are choosing to complete the lessons. So again, you can see how it's broken down. Lesson 1 has 18 key questions. The total mark is 55. The second lesson, there are 15 key questions. So from key question 19 to 33. And then lesson 3, you only have 8 key questions, and it goes on from key questions 34 to 41. Okay, and I cannot stress enough that, if you started the lesson and you completed key questions, you still have the option to change your mind and go on to do the culminating activity instead. Now, if you have decided you want the culminating activity, this is what the mark sheet looks like. Okay, so this is an example from a student who completed it. So there are 3 sections in the culminating, sections A, B, and C. So the first section talks about women in work. The second section is about Canada and World War I, and section C is about French and English relations. So the student passed. Remember, the minimum is 50%. The student received 87%. Okay, so that means that that particular student will get their equivalent credit for PLAR History. Don't forget, we still have our YouTube channel. That means you will have access to the Term 1A classes that's coming up, There are also other classes that's in there already. So this is the website. You can see it has LNCAO, the Native Language Level 1 Cree is still there. MEL3E, so if you're working on your mathematics for work and everyday life, that's in there. The WASA grad is there as well, so if you want to watch the WASA graduation, okay, you might be graduating this year and you might want to see what it looks like. So there's the WASA grad. NBE 3C is there, GPP 3.0, PLAR Science, Math, History, Geography, that's all there. So again, you can use this, okay, to access broadcasted lessons. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. So if you click the subscribe button, that means any new videos that are being uploaded, you will be notified. If you don't have access to internet or Wi-Fi, you can still request for a USB of classes. All you have to do is have a USB port so you can play the classes. You click, you open the lesson, and then you may listen or view the classes. So the way it's organized by the subject. So in this case, it's PLAR History, then by lesson, and then by key questions. NNEC students, okay, you can have a Google account, which means that you can have an email account, okay, to access your Google account. So what we do is we give you an email address beginning with your first name. So this is a made-up one. It's not an actual student. It will be your first name. So in this case, I put Julie.Andrews. So that's her last name. 10 or 1008. So the 1008 is the last day and the month. So, sorry, is the day and the month of that person's birthday. Okay, so I give you your first name, dot, your last name, then the day. So this person's birthday is August 10th. So day and month, and then it ends with at nnecschools.org. Okay, so this is just an example. It's not an actual student, but that's what your email will look like. So julie.andrews1008@nnecschools.org. If by any chance you forget your password, we can reset it. Or if you don't have an email, we are able to activate your email. Okay, it takes no more than a minute or so. If you're trying it out, so let's say I gave you that email and then you go to your laptop or your phone or your iPad and you can't get in, first thing you need to remember is to sign out of all accounts. You may not know it, but you may already have an account that's signed in, and that's why it's not allowing you to sign into that account. Okay, make sure you sign out of all accounts before you try that email. Your password, okay, is WASA student until it changes. So you have the option of changing it. So you put in your email and then your password will be WASA student. All one word, all lowercase. Okay, once you're ready to start submitting your work or you're culminating, lots of ways to do that too. You can scan your work for marking using your iPhone Notes app, or you can email it, or you can send it through Messenger. So when you're sending it through Messenger, you can take a picture of it, or you can use the scan feature on your phone. If you're scanning multiple pages, make sure that you do not click save until the very end. So if you're doing 5 pages, do not click save until you get to the 5th page. If you save it each time, that means that document will be an individual document. So the student sent me their geography lesson 1. They had 4 pages. Notice how it's all um, in one chat, which means that this person saved at the 4th page. Okay, and if you're not sure how to do that, just let me know. So all work goes to studentwork@nnec.on.ca if you're emailing it. Make sure that you CC it to the teacher that's marking your work. So if it's history, geography, or science, make sure you CC it to me. That way I know that you have sent work. Student work, they print off your assignments or your key questions, and then they enter it into our database, and then it's given to me. Another option is just send it through Google Classroom. You can share your work. So when you first start typing or formulating your answer, the share feature is locked. So you see the lock button. Once you put in my email, okay, to send it, then that will unlock. Okay, it will say it's shared with one person. And if you don't want to do that, you can have your DEC do it for you. They can scan or fax it for you. You can also drop it off at 74 Front Street, or the red building right next to the post office. We still have the WASA outdoor mailbox. Please make sure you put your name on your work. And if you have other concerns or questions, again, do not hesitate to contact me or call the office. Okay, after all that, we're going to begin with our lesson 1. So as I said, it's important that you look at the cover page. All the information that you need is on that cover page. Then when you turn over the page, you will see on page 1 the key questions. If you're doing the key questions, that's what it looks like. Or again, you can just ask for the PLAR History culminating activity. So remember, the key questions are what you need to send in if that's what you're doing. The support question, which is on the bottom of page 1, the support question, these are just for practice. So that means you don't need to send them out for marking. The answers are at the end of this lesson. So if you look at the support question number 1, what are the 4 concepts of historical thinking? Try and answer it first, and then go to the end of the lesson and see if your answer is correct. Here is the course calendar for the PLAR History and Geography. So you can see it's broken down into 9 weeks. So this first week we will talk about Canada 1900 to 1939. Next week we will continue with lesson 1 and so on. Then you will see by week 6 we will start with lesson 1 geography. Learning goals. Okay, so turn to page 2 of your lesson book if you're following along. So the first learning goal, I can explain the concepts of historical thinking. I can identify events of historical significance from the early 20th century. So these are the two learning goals we will look at. So the first lesson of PLAR history has been designed to give you a review of the skills and knowledge that are part of the grade 10 history curriculum. So in this lesson, we'll be reviewing the main concepts of historical thinking, so keep that in mind, as well as some significant aspects of life in Canada from 1914 to 1939. So why are we studying history? Well, it helps us understand the past and where we come from. So history is made up of stories about people, it's made up of events, emotions, struggles, challenges that shape the world that we live in today. And the more we learn about history, the better we understand different times and places. It also shows us that our successes and problems are not unique. Okay, this is important because in today's world, people from different cultures are becoming more connected through globalization. History is more than just names and dates. It's also about people, society, change, and different points of view. So in this course, we will use important historical thinking skills to understand and analyze the past. We will also explore historical events, ideas, okay, perspectives from multiple angles. So my role in this PLAR history, okay, is not to promote, I'm not going to promote any particular political viewpoint, but I want you to be more critical, okay, and to use more of your critical thinking, and also just get you thinking about, what is going on. That means history is often connected to politics, but our focus will be on understanding the past, which means we can analyze evidence and we can form informed opinions, okay, instead of taking sides. So everyone is welcome to share their perspectives respectfully. And again, I encourage you to think critically about all sources of information. There's a lot of information online, so whether you're checking out social media or you're checking out uh, different search engines or different types of news that you see online, okay, I just want you to think critically about all sources of information that you're receiving. So here's a word, it's called historian, and a historian is someone who studies and writes about the past. So they look at evidence, such as documents, pictures, artifacts, to understand what happened and why it matters. So historians also specializes in different areas of history. So more common types of historians, you can have political historians. So they study governments, leaders, and political events. You also have social ones. They focus on everyday life, culture, and how people lived in the past. There are military historians. They study wars, battles, and the impact of military events. There's the economic historians, so they examine trade, industries, and how money and resources were used. There are also cultural historians, where they explore art, music, literature, and traditions from different times. Environmental historians study how people have interacted with nature and the environment over time. And finally, there are oral historians. Okay, they collect and study history through interviews and spoken stories. So all of these historians, okay, they help us understand different parts of the past. So they look at, what is history about? Uh, so the who part of it is, we're studying people's lives, and The what part of it is evidence or sources that say something about the past. And the when is, well, we study things that have happened before us. Okay, we're on page 3, the concepts of historical thinking. So in the Ontario curriculum, there are 4 central concepts of historical thinking. The first one is historical significance. Okay, second is cause and consequence. Third is continuity and change, and 4 is historical perspective. So we're going to look at each one of those central concepts more closely. So these ideas help us better understand history and think carefully about historical evidence, like tools, could be clothing, could be art, could be photos, videos, and recordings. It'll also help you build important skills in understanding history and thinking critically. Okay, additionally, this will help you analyze historical evidence and see how past events still matter in your own life today. Okay, typically, you don't say, well, let's forget about the past. Well, the past still matter in your own life today. So significance, that explains why something is important. So there's too many things in the past for anyone to remember everything. So then how do we decide which events to study? Well, historians choose important people. Okay, they choose important events or changes by connecting them to things that still matter today. However, people might not always agree on what is important in history. Something that might be important for you might not be important for someone else. For example, a story about how your parents or ancestors met is important to you, but it might not be as meaningful to someone else. Okay, here are some things to remember about important events, people, or changes in history. Okay, the first one is they lead to big changes that affect many people for a long time. Secondly, they help us understand important issues in history or today's world. And finally, their importance can change over time and may be seen differently by different people. Okay, here's an example, or there's a few examples of historical significance. The first one is Terry Fox. Okay, he was born in 1958 and he died in 1981. He is an example of a historical significance. Okay, he was a Canadian hero. He ran across Canada to raise awareness and money for cancer research. His legacy continues today through the annual Terry Fox Run. So every year, millions of people in close to 25 countries participate in Terry Fox runs and Terry Fox fundraising events. Okay, to date, over 850 million has been raised for cancer research. Okay, this is through his name, and it's held across Canada and around the world. Okay, so that is significant. It's historical significance, been happening for years now, and it's to raise awareness and money for cancer research. Okay, another historical significance is Viola Desmond. Okay, 1914 to 1965, she was a black Canadian woman who challenged racial segregation in Nova Scotia. Okay, she refused to leave a whites-only section of a movie theater, and you might recognize her. She is featured on the Canadian $10 bill. So remember, historically significant, they result in change, and it reveals something about the time. So this one in particular, it reveals something about the time where there's used to be segregation for whites and blacks. And this is what she did to result in change. She refused to leave a whites-only section of a movie theater. Okay, another historical significant is COVID-19. That's historically significant because it affected almost every aspect of life around the world. Okay, it was a pandemic. It led to widespread illnesses and death. It caused major disruptions in the global economy. It changed the way people work. It changed the way people learned and interacted with each other. Governments imposed lockdowns and travel restrictions, and it had significant social and economic consequences. So, in history, COVID 19 will be studied as a major event that reshaped the world. It's similar to other significant events like World War II or the Great Depression. So, again, it's a clear example of how a single event can have widespread and lasting effects on societies globally. Okay, it just didn't happen in Canada, it happened worldwide. Okay, the second one is cause and consequence. So, when we look at important events in history, we often ask, okay, how and why they happen. So, big events usually happen because of the actions, beliefs, or situations of people or groups. So, the idea of cause and consequence, this just helps us understand what led to an event and then what effects it had on the world. So, the first part is the cause. So, it's the identifying, so we have to identify the reasons or factors that led to an event. Now, that event could have a single factor or it could have a combination of multiple factors. Causes can be long term, which means developing over time, or it could be short term, which means immediate triggers. Now, the consequence refers to what happens as a result of an event. Again, the consequence can be immediate or long lasting. They can also be positive, that means it was good, could be negative, that means it could have been bad, or it could have some good and bad. So it could be a mix of both. So if you're looking at a vehicle accident, so what is the cause? Well, maybe it was the person might be speeding, uh, he could have been distracted, okay, it might have been the weather. So here you have showing that the causes, like I said, distracted driving, poor weather, to the consequences. Okay, what's the result? Well, damage and injury. So the historian in this case, just like the insurance investigator, it can sift through evidence to determine the causes of events. So it could just be from a multitude of possibilities. But unlike the investigator, though, the historian is also interested in the event's consequences. So, for example, if you look back in time, we didn't have to worry about texting and driving, okay, because we didn't have mobile phones back then. But now that we do, okay, the historian is now interested in, okay, as a result of us having mobile devices, how does that change the rules and regulations for people who operate a vehicle? Okay, here's more examples. Big events in history often have many different causes and can affect different people in different ways. Some causes are more important and have a bigger impact than others. And historical events usually happen because of two main factors. Could be the actions of people, the social, political, economic, cultural, and environmental situations at the time. The effects of historical events, okay, they can't always be predicted. So often the actions of people lead to unexpected results. So if we study cause and consequence, then you can understand not just what happened in history, but also why it happened and how it affected the future. Here's a cause. People invented the printing press, radio, and television. Okay, because that happened, what were the effects? Well, people read more. They read books, newspapers, flyers, posters. Okay, they listened to music, heard news from different parts of the country or the world, and are able to watch shows and news. So depending on how you look at it, okay, someone might say everything about that is positive, and someone might say no, some of that part is, some of the effects are negative, and some people might say, well, there's some good and there's some bad. Okay, the third section here is the idea of continuity and change. So this helps us understand what has changed over time and what has stayed the same. So we might see some things have changed and some things, when we look at it, we say, no, it's still the same. So historians look at how things like ways of life, government policies, economic practices, relationships with nature, and social values have either changed or stayed the same over time. So here are some things to remember about continuity and change. It can happen at the same time, so creating a timeline can help us see this more clearly. Change is always happening. Sometimes there are key moments that are called turning points when big changes happen. We can talk about change as either progress, that means, we're getting positive changes, or we could look at it as a decline, which means there are negative changes. Historians may have different ideas about what counts as progress or decline. Okay, continuity refers to things that remain consistent over time. These can be attitudes, practices, traditions, or systems that don't change much even as the world around them does. For example, certain cultural traditions like celebrating holidays. Okay, this might continue in a similar way for centuries. Okay, change is about what evolves or shifts over time. So again, it could be a change in technology. If you look at the telephone, if you're looking at the screen or the slide, notice how the telephone looked from the early days, okay, and how it might look like now. Remember when it was connected to a cord so that you can only have maybe 3 feet distance away from the phone, or then it got to the cordless, where now you can go to a different room, and now you have the mobile phone where you can be anywhere and use it. Okay, you don't have to have a landline. Okay, other changes. Think about how communication has changed from letters. Okay, now to, instead of people writing letters, they basically send messages, okay, using social media. Or as I mentioned, from landlines to smartphones. Okay, those are changes. Okay, I won't go over the next section, but uh, you can go ahead and look at it, and then we'll pick this up on Thursday. That is on page 5. Okay, in the last section there is the historical perspective. So continue reading to page 5, and you can take a peek on page 6 and 7, and then we'll look at our first key question. So again, if you have any concerns, or if you are wanting to register for the school year, make sure you contact one of our education counselors or your DEC. The Term 1A Radio Zoom timetable, that's shared on our Facebook page, WASA Distance Education Center new page. That's where you can find us. Or you can go to one of the teachers' Facebook accounts. For example, mine is J. Mercer Wasa, Bonnie's is B. Osman Wasa. You can check out our schedules or the Term 1A Radio Zoom timetable there. And again, call us if you need help in deciding which course you need to sign up for this year. Okay, that's it for this morning. I will talk to you on Thursday. Miigwech.